In this episode, we're going to be adding animations to our Create React app. The animation library that we're going to be using is GSAP, and it is a terrific JavaScript animation library that's used worldwide and creates some of the best animations I've seen on the web. I've pulled up 2 examples of what GSAP is capable of. Of course, this comes back to how talented these designers and developers are, but if you're using the same tools and you kind of learn how to use them properly, you should be able to create the same effects. So our first example is this website I found, findingcontrol.nesta.org, and it's got some of the best animations I've seen. Another one is a digital agency, I believe it's called Basili or Basilico, probably butchering it, but really nice slick animations, and you can see that they don't struggle to load. Now, working with this library is fairly easy when just getting things set up, but since we are using React, you could also use frameworks built on top of React, such as Gatsby.js or Next.js, but there might need to be some additional configuration there. Now, to get started, what you want to do is you want to just do the quick start that Create React App has. So you want to run npx create React App. My app is just the project name that you want to name it. In our case, we're just going to name it React-GSAP. And then go ahead and cd into your application and run npm start. I'm going to jump over to the next screen where we're going to have our application booted up. So once you've ran npm start, it should just open up in your localhost 3000 of a Create React app, or just the basic boilerplate that it has. This first episode is just installing GSAP, learning how it kind of works using TweenMax. TweenMax is a GSAP plugin, I should mention. And if we go into the documentation, let me see if I can pull that up. And products, so you got GSAP, which is the entire tool, and then you've got inside GSAP such as TweenMax, TweenLite, Draggable, Morph, SVG, and so there's these other plugins within GSAP that you could use for your web app. In our case, we're just going to create a very simple animation of the React app logo or the React logo, and the text kind of just fading in and sliding in. Nothing too complex just yet. We just want to pick up the very basics and know how it kind of works, especially when using React. It might be a little different than just vanilla JavaScript. Now, the first thing that you want to do is you need to install GSAP. So just go ahead and run npm install GSAP. And once that's installed, you want to go ahead and import it into your project. To import GSAP, you need to specify which plugin that you want. So the plugin that we're going to be using is in fact TweenMax, which is the most popular one. And we're also going to import something called Power 3, which is a type of easing within GSAP. So we want to import these from GSAP. Now, once those are imported, we need to jump into the next topic, which kind of uses React hooks. So there's 2 hooks that we need to specify. One is called useRef, which allows us to reference whichever DOM element is in our little return life cycle or return cycle within the JSX code that we've written, or the one that provided by React. So useRef gives us a reference to which DOM element we want. Now, the second one is useEffect, but we'll get into that in just a second. So let's go ahead and import useRef from React. Cool. And what I'm going to do now is just actually use this hook and then just console log some code out just to show you how it works. To use this hook, what you need to do is let's go ahead and create a variable called, in this case, we'll just say logo icon. It doesn't make any sense. We'll just say logo item for now. And we'll use ref. And first, let's just return some text for now. So let's just say hello, or actually, sorry about that. Just put null. This will in fact, return null or nothing. So if we go ahead and log this out, it should return an object of null. Let's go ahead and check out the log console. So it does return null. If we go ahead and refresh that, it's going to say the same thing. If we change this to a string, it'll return hello. Let's go ahead and refresh. Oh, sorry, I'm returning null here. Oh, that's embarrassing. Logo item, not null. It does return the current of hello, and if we put this to null now, it should return an object as current null. Now, what we need to do is reference the image so that it does pick up that our logo item variable is in fact this image here. And the way to do that is go ahead and add a ref attribute. And in here, let's return a function that will set this image item as our logo item. And to do that, let's go ahead and run L for element. It could be anything you want. You could even name it logo or logo item or whatever you want. But I'm going to go ahead and select L to be short for elements. So let's go do logo item and set it to L. This will tell us that L is equal to logo item, which should be here. Now, we can see that it's still returning current null. And the reason that is because it's logging the logo item as null before the DOM elements have loaded. So this is running before any of these items. Now the solution to that is our next hook we're going to explore, which is the useEffect hook, which is kind of like the previous lifecycle that React had of like component did mount. So this will run when the DOM elements have completely loaded or mounted. And in here, go ahead and let's just do an anonymous function. And let's see if it actually works. So let's go ahead and console log logo item. What you can also add is certain dependencies, but in this case, we're just gonna go ahead and leave an empty array. So if we go ahead and save this, what it should render first is, let me add console log outside of the useEffect also so that I can kind of explain. What should happen is the logo item first console log should return null, and the second one after the useEffect is ran, which is after every single DOM element is loaded, it should return our image object. So if we go ahead and save this, so the first console log is null, which is correct, and the second one is in fact our image item. What we could also do in here, just to show you that we are actually targeting this image, is let's go ahead and do logo item dot style, and I'm just gonna hide it with like CSS. So display, can't even spell, and let's just set that to none. What this will do is just display none or item, so it should just disappear. Perfect, just like that, we are targeting items in our create React app application. Once we actually have our item, what we could do next is add those animations. So let's go ahead and remove the console log and let's add the animation that we want. What we want our animation to look like is just kind of fade in and move up a bit. And to do that, we can add tweenmax.to, and inside these parentheses, I love VS Code because it pretty much tells us what's going on. It tells us the target that we want. In our case, we'll just list out the variable name, the duration, which is a type of number that you need to put, and then certain vars or kind of like options we could list, such as delay, opacity, scale, and additional properties that GSAP allows. So the first thing we need to list is that logo item. So let's go ahead and do that. The next thing is the duration, so we'll set 0.8, and the last one is our options that we need to add. So we'll set the opacity to 1. This is getting in the way now. Can I just, okay. We'll set the opacity to 1. We'll add a Y of -20. And the last thing we need to add is our ease. So that's where we're going to pull in that power 3 and just add ease out. Cool. Go ahead and save that. And if we reload, nothing actually happens because our item is already at the opacity of 1. So let's jump into the CSS and add opacity of 0. And let's in fact remove this spinning animation. Also, let's remove that. So add opacity of 0. If we save that and refresh here, you can actually see that it's just fading in there. And if we remove the spinning animation, we could see that the actual image item is going up a bit and then fading in, which is really cool. So that's kind of it for creating very basic animations. What we could do next is just replicate this for our paragraph text. So to follow those exact same steps, we need to create a new variable, and in this case we'll just call it text item, and we'll use ref and set that to null as well. And so what we need to do is in our p tag add a ref attribute, the same exact thing that we did earlier. Now we can also copy the animation that we created earlier, switch out the logo item for text item, and let's actually add one more thing. Let's add a delay of 0.2. Go ahead and save that. And now you can see every time we refresh, it doesn't look good. So let's go ahead and, in this case, of course, you'll have a lot more organized way of doing things, but I'm just gonna set the opacity to 0 so that it actually looks semi-decent. But you can see that the animation for the tween max for the logo item runs, and then a 0.2 second delay after the page is loaded or this animation is finished, the next one would start. And so this isn't really the perfect way of creating this sort of timeline. You do want to use timeline max, which we will get into in the later tutorials. But this first episode was just highlighting how to actually import GSAP and create a very simple animation for when our page loads. In the next episode, we're hopefully going to create a lot more complex animations and discover the different plugins within GSAP. If you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and leave a like down below and make sure you hit that subscribe button. Thanks again for tuning in. Have a wonderful